commonly known that quitting smoking is one of the hardest habits to quit. Some would even argue that it's just as hard to quit compared to addictions to drugs like cocaine and even heroin. But I'd argue that there's another addiction that is even harder to quit than all those three. And it's this addiction that many of us men were not aware that we had up until recently. And I'm here to tell you that if you have the ability to overcome this particular addiction, not only will you have the power to eliminate anything in your life that doesn't serve you, but you'll have the mental fortitude so that when you finally make that decision to quit, it can stick for the long term. I'm here today to talk about semen retention and how it can help you work towards sobriety. So those of you who are working towards reducing or even eliminating things like alcohol, weed, drugs, cigarettes from your life, you want to listen in because I'm going to share with you a blueprint that you can implement right away that's going to help you work towards those goals and help you accelerate your success. And so when it comes to semen retention, what we're really talking about is healing yourself from the addiction to the screen. Now, people call it corn. You know what I'm referring to. The reason why this addiction is one of the hardest to quit is because of the nature of the addiction in the first place. When I first discovered semen retention and NoFap, I didn't even realize that this was a problem that went back to my childhood. I am going to be turning 45 this year, and when I first got introduced to things like Playboy magazines and VHS tapes, that was way back at the age of 6. And so what started out as curiosity over time started to become and turned into a vice and coping mechanism in my adult life when things got stressful, when I was depressed, when I wasn't able to have intimate relations with a woman. I would turn to the screen. And that's something that many men have been doing for years. And what makes this particular addiction so difficult to break is 3 different factors. Number one, which I've already mentioned, is we've been doing this longer than any other addiction that we've had. In my case, it's gone back to when I was 6 years old. So for almost 40 years, this was something that I was doing in my life. That's the longest habit that I've ever had and that many of us men have had. Number two, this is an addiction that can easily be hidden in the privacy of our own home or anywhere that we are. And it's not, the side effects aren't obvious compared to when you're addicted to like hard drugs like cocaine or even heroin. You could see the physical side effects on someone. That doesn't happen when you're addicted to the screen. Yes, there's effects psychologically, to some point physically, but it's not visually obvious to others. So for those of us who are addicted to this, we can easily hide it from society. And number 3, most importantly, the reason why this is such a hard habit to quit is compared to any other habits, our access to this stuff is absolutely free and unlimited at any point in time, and we can hide ourselves from consuming it from society. So when you have access to this unlimited source of pleasure, it makes it very difficult to step away from that habit. And so compared to some other vices, some other addictions that people have, this is why I'm saying that if you can implement semen retention in your life and make it stick, you'll not only have the strength, but you'll have the mental fortitude to now attack those other vices and either minimize or completely eliminate them from your life if that's what you so choose. So the blueprint is as follows. The first step that you want to do in order to to implement semen retention and overcome your addiction to the screen is first set a goal of a streak of 7 days. Now, I know you've probably seen a lot of content of people saying, oh yeah, the streak is very important. You need to hit this milestone and this milestone and this milestone. So whether it's 30, 60, 90, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. I've seen guys posting videos about 5 years on semen retention. That's crazy. You want to first set a milestone of 7 days, but here's the key. It's the streak isn't as important as the experience and the feelings you're going to gain from going on a 7-day streak. So to explain, the reason why you want to go 7 days is you first want to get a taste of what it's like to not have that dopamine hit in your brain and flooding your mind and giving you all this excessive pleasure and bringing you, below your normal state after you crash from that. So going on 7 days is going to be your first goal. And to be quite honest, when I first started this practice, it wasn't easy. And for many men, it's not easy to get to 7 days. So 7 days will be your first milestone. If you're able to hit 7 days, what I want you to do is write, whether it's in a journal or in your notes, how you feel mentally as well as physically. Mentally, in terms of mental focus, clarity, compared to when you relapse or when you do release. There's a huge difference there that you need to start recognizing and start conditioning yourself to feel, because for many years you've only felt the negative effects. You now need to start learning what it feels like to have the positive effects in your mind and in your body. So once you get to the 7 day mark, take a note of how you feel mentally as well as physically. Physically, in terms of energy, laziness, how do you feel? Do you have more energy? Do you feel more alert? Things of that nature. The next goal after that is to get to 14 days. If you can get to 14 days, do the same exercise. Write down how do you feel mentally and even physically. And then the next goal after that is 30 days. Now, typically they say it takes 21 days to break a habit, so 30 days is a good marker. For me, I found that was my sweet spot in terms of going through 30 days without having any of that stimulation. I felt the absolute best in terms of mental clarity, focus. My energy was through the roof. And I also felt like I was in a good mood and I had a good sense of well-being at that point. So if you can get to 30 days, again, take notes of how you feel mentally and physically. Now, what's most important in this process is that if you do relapse, number one, don't stress yourself out. Relapses are part of the process. Nobody ever gets there the first go at it. And as you've probably seen online, this is a real struggle for many men, is dealing with the relapse because you think that you've failed. And that's where I think sometimes to some degree the streak is not helpful for the long term. It's helpful at the beginning to help you condition your body to start feeling what it's like to be normal again without that overstimulation. But if you do relapse, in the same way you're taking notes for your mental state and your physical state, also do that for when you relapse. How do you feel mentally? That brain fog after 30 days, if I relapsed, it feels like someone is pushing my brain against the front of my head. It's like this pressure, and I know it's the dopamine overload that's happening in my brain that's flooding my receptors, and it takes a few days to recover from that. But you'll only be able to experience that if you can go on a longer streak. So note down, how do you feel mentally? I think physically, that's also important. It's pretty obvious. You're gonna feel pleasure, but then shortly after you're gonna feel lethargic, you're gonna feel lazy, you're gonna feel low energy, and then also you're gonna feel very low motivation to try to do things around the house or even in life or even in work. You're gonna feel quite lazy. But take note of that. And the reason why is because you need to measure both the negative and the positive and start conditioning your body to want the positive. That's where the longer streaks come into play and why they're so important. After 30 days, rinse and repeat this process. If you can get to 60 days, fine, jot it down. But eventually gets to a point where this becomes a new habit. And after relapsing quite a few times, you'll start to realize and hopefully start getting frustrated about the fact that, like, why do I still want this stuff that doesn't help me, that makes me feel like crap, when I know that if I just stay on the path, I can have all these positive benefits. And that's really the blueprint that helped me. It took quite a few times, quite a few long streaks, many failures to finally get fed up and be like, you know what? I don't want to feel like shit anymore. I don't want to have this hold me back and prevent me from achieving what I want to achieve in this next chapter. I want to have the mental clarity. I want to have the energy for my kids, for my job, to go out and chase whatever dreams I want to accomplish. I want to be able to have deep connection with a woman and be able to perform and please her in bed. Like, it'll get to that point where after you fail so many times, you're just going to get sick and tired of the negative effects. And by that point, you'll finally have the mental fortitude to make the decision to stop and move forward. Does that mean you're going to not fail again? No, you will have, there will be more opportunities. The universe will be testing you, but you'll have the experience, the structure, and the blueprint necessary to keep yourself on track. And that's essentially the same blueprint that I use to help myself fully eliminate alcohol. I'm almost at my 1 year mark in September, so I'm going to do an update video on that. But it also helped me also eliminate cigarettes about 4 years ago. So try this blueprint out. There's a couple other things that I'm going to share with you, some tips that's going to help you with this. If possible, this is something that I found was super helpful for me. If you can turn on your privacy settings, that will limit your ability to go to adult websites. And I'm not just saying like those corn websites, but just anything that's 18 and plus for the most part. That was super helpful because then I couldn't access that. I mean, again, it's your willpower, but eliminating that ability from you accessing those websites on your devices can really help. And also, if possible, what really helped for me was suspending my social media accounts. So that's Instagram and Facebook. If you're one of those people that would death scroll or just start scrolling through these social platforms and getting trapped by these thirst traps by women looking at sexy pictures, that's not going to help you in your journey either. So you need to remove those temptations by turning on your settings, and if you can, temporarily suspending your accounts on social media for a month, 2 months, whatever you feel is necessary. And again, this journey is going to be individual for each person. You're going to want to take certain pieces, implement them, try them, see what works. Same thing with your streaks. Everybody is going to get to their end result at their own timeline. Some people will get there sooner than others, but that doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. Again, this is a habit that we've been dealing with for a very long period of our life. But again, it's going to give us the foundation and the blueprint we need to also work on eliminating other vices in our life. The last piece that I'll leave you with, if this isn't obvious, if you're going to quit a particular habit, especially a bad one, you need to replace it with a new one. And whether that be a hobby, whether that be an activity, I'll always preach a workout program. I love hitting the weights. It's my accountability partner to keep me on track. Try to implement a new healthy habit that's going to replace the old habit, because it'll give you not just the health benefits, but also mental benefits in that you're now focusing on something positive in your life instead of trying to numb yourself and trying to not face the problems of reality. Let's face it, life is challenging, it's stressful, but if we have hobbies, interests, activities that we can pour our focus and energy on, that's a healthy distraction versus just trying to numb ourselves with these substances. So try to implement some healthy habits if you can. That's it for today. If you have any comments, any feedback, I'd love to hear it in the comments below. If there's any other strategies that you have to overcome some of these vices and addictions to work towards sobriety, I'd love to hear them. But I hope this video was helpful and I hope it found you at the right time. Thanks again for your support, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace out.